my name is Clive Collins.
And I'm David Reed.
And you're watching
From the Bench.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 2 of From the Bench. This one's going to be a little bit shorter. David, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Obviously, well, being a Norwich fan isn't great at the moment, is it really? We've been nothing short of shocking, really. Against Everton, there were moments where I thought, yeah, we look in the game, we're looking good here. And then, soft penalty, do you think?
No, in the penalty, it was a clear. Alan got the ball, was going to get the ball, and Kabak just kicked it for no reason. It was clear on the shins, it was. And it's a clear penalty all day. Right, you don't need VAR to see that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess my only argument to that is obviously it's not really touching, to be honest, either.
He caught him there. You see, that's not contact. He smacked him in the shins, in the box.
Yeah, I don't even. I'm not sure. In all fairness, I have to agree. Kabak had a really poor performance. Anyway, you know, I think Norwich are struggling a bit defensively now. I think going forward they still look dangerous, but it's just, you get to the final third. It's like midfield are doing a good job. Our midfield, I can't really question Norwich's midfield at the moment. I feel like anything good we do, or anything like for the cameras like that looks decent, comes from the midfield. But then up front we're not doing enough, and at the back, obviously, with the goals we've conceded, it's clear to see we're not doing enough either. I think Norwich need to just become a lot. They don't even need to win games, just be harder to beat. What do you think?
Yeah, I can understand clear. There's any change formation as well, which it would have worked if Kabak, Kabak's always to be a weakling. When you play a back five, you know every player must know the position inside and be strong. When you look at Wolves, when you had Bolly, Cody, Saïd, players like that, you did with Doherty and Johnny at left wing back, that team was defensively sound, and you knew that. Say like Cody will be 1v1, he was going to win the ball. If he didn't, Bolly knows come behind, it's just sort of like that way around. And that's the difference with Norwich. When you look at the players, they don't seem together enough, they don't seem like strong. They seem to play like individuals, like Hanley, with the experience he's got, he should be able to play a lot better, he should.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I think I think the three defenders, they're like, to an extreme level, they're so different that they can't all play together. I would have liked to see Omobamidele in there as well. I think he's a player with real quality, and I would at some point this season like to see him pair up with Kabak. And I know what you're going to say. There's not enough experience in that back line. Max Aarons, Kabak, Omobamidele, whether it's Williams or Giannoulis. And actually, I'm going to shift on to that. For me, Williams just hasn't been good enough. I think he keeps getting caught out of position when he goes forward. He doesn't track back enough. And what do you think? Giannoulis needs
with
to
Williams, we'll say that. Is it Daniel Farke doing it though? Because if you say he can get caught out every time, what do you think Daniel Farke is seeing that day?
Is he asking too much of his fullbacks?
Because he needs goals, don't we? And if the strikers on it, you need creativity. If it was a problem, if Frank Vogel looking at the pitch, doing that on the screen, not seeing the left-hand side, he knows in training that he's doing it. There must be a reason why he's doing it. It's easy to say, oh, he's going too high. When you look at Lincoln, we have Bramall, who's a great attacking fullback, but when he goes defensive, he is shocking.
Because he just doesn't get back in.
No, he doesn't. And that's the system. We either have one that's very defensive, like Robertson now, who's very defensive, and you've got Bramall, who's more attacking fullback. I think that's the same with Norwich. You've got Williams, who is great, but he hasn't never played a long period of games, and now he's been tested to go up the field. He's got actually great. When you're Man United, you'd never really on the back foot, but with Norwich, it's more on the back foot, and he's got to know when to go forward and when to go back. Because when you're hardly, that's the thing. He's not coming back quick. When you look at someone like Bertrand for Leicester, he's dropping back. And Robertson, they're always coming back for the arm. And then Williams and Farke need to find a way of him going forward to create chances, but also saying defensively as well, because it's asking too much of a young guy like Williams. Well, if they find the right balance, I think it'd be good to create goals and stuff like that. But that's what we need to wait for Farke to understand what Williams' position is.
Yeah, I think you're right there in the fact that I think Daniel Farke is he's still working out his team, if that makes sense. So he's still working out where players play. Obviously, he was playing Gilmore in a CDM role, which didn't really work. I thought he looked too weak on the ball, and I think soon now with Matthias Norman in there, who for me was really impressed. I think that was probably potentially one of our best signings this summer, and I think he's going to prove that this season. I'd like to see Lise Malou more. I think he's got a lot to offer. whether that's in front of goal or just passing around the midfield, creating chances and things like that. I think this team has a lot to offer, and I think Daniel Farke just hasn't really worked out how to use it yet. Obviously, it's almost like a sort of a rebuild, isn't it, really? Like with 6 or 7 starting players in. Obviously, they're not all going to gel straight away, and not really any of them have played at this level or even on English soil at all. So it was never going to be, oh yeah, they'll link up straight away, they'll be brilliant, they'll be fantastic, because that was never going to work. So I think I'm really just I don't want to say Daniel Farke out, because it's such a get out, isn't it? Because it's like you're not pointing the finger at the players or even Stuart Webber, really, because obviously it's his recruitment that have got us here. So you have to start asking the question: is the manager asking too much? Does the manager know how to use this team? Now, for me, I'd go back to the 4-2-3-1. I think that's one of our best formations, and I think it's a formation that really works at this football club. Obviously, with the success of it last season, the Championship's such a different league, I know that. But I think if it was working, why change it in the first place? Do you know what I mean?
I think he changed it. I think we look at what I was talking about last week. We were talking about Danny Cowley. I think he's trying to fix one problem at a time. Like, you're not scoring. He needs to fix his defence. If you stop leaking goals now against Burnley, I think if you really shut our gates and go for 0-0, you get points on the ball. I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to find the right combination of players. Like, he looks at a back five and thought, this would be a different aspect of playing football.
Tried to shut up shop, didn't he? And for a while against Everton, there was a good 40 minutes where I thought Norwich looked like, before Decore scored the second goal, I really thought, oh, Norwich are in this game. They've got chances. They could go and win this game.
When you look what Everton said, when you said Rafa Benitez, it's a desire from the players. It's not when you write off Townsend, you write off Gray, you write off those kind of players because they're not good enough. But he said because it's desire, they want to win games, they want to show why they're football. Like Townsend, we how good, how much of it was disappeared Crystal Palace a bit of time, but now he's got about 3 goals he has. He's a lot better footballer, and that's where Norwich are competing against. You have not competing against tactics, it's the desire from the players. If a player wants to win a game, you face Burnley now, and a player really wants to win a game, like Vogt wants to score, Vigil wants to score, you've got to shut that out as well.
I think against Burnley we've got to go for it. We've just got to really get into and be harsher. Give a shoulder in the back, like take Burnley's game to them, if that makes sense. So play rough, make it a dirty game. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be able to play tiki-taka football against Burnley, because it just simply Sean Dyche will shut the door on you and he'll catch you on the break, and that's exactly what he'll do to Norwich if Norwich aren't careful. I think there's an opportunity to perhaps get points. Obviously, with the Everton game, Rashica and Zolis were left out, which to me was there wasn't really anything going forward out wide, was there? Do you know what I mean? So I think against Burnley, we've got to try and utilise those wide areas. I'd like to see Zolis starting. I'd like to see Rashica starting as well, as I feel like that them 2 players have such high potential to be really good quality Premier League footballers. But yeah, overall, mate, to be honest, I'm disappointed with the season so far. I think we've been poor. Things need improving, whether that's the manager, whether that's tactics. To be honest, I'm not too sure how Norwich get out of this rut, and I'm not too sure where the points can come from. I think by Christmas we'll sort of have an idea. Are Norwich going down? Have they still got a chance? Because I think the thing is as well, people have got to remember, there's 2 or 3 or 4 teams around us that have still only got 3 points as well, and I'm pretty sure we're not the only team that hasn't won a game yet. So I think it's also a case of if Norwich get 2 wins, they're all of a sudden out of the relegation zone. Then you've got the media saying, oh, Norwich is the best team, and the bottom 6 all of a sudden they're going to stay up and have a miracle season. But that's just how the media works, isn't it? So I think it's going to be a long season, but I think if the Norwich players can really get into it, and I think we'll start to see them gelling more soon, if that makes sense. I think Norman, I've got to say it, he was exceptional again, and I think he's almost adjusted to the Premier League like a puzzle piece, and it's just he's done it in a time that no one else has been able to. So I think we'll give it a few more weeks. We'll give the boys until after international break, and if Burnley, I think we've got to get a point. If we can shut up shop against Burnley and go there expecting a 0-0, because if Norwich come away, that would be such a huge result. Come away from Burnley and not concede a goal. So whether we score one of our own or not, Yeah, I think to be honest, mate, that's all for me in this topic. I think Norwich have a chance this season to pull it back, and I think they can. Like Southampton, do you remember? Was it last season? Southampton they had a shocking start, and all of a sudden they rocketed up into 12th, didn't they?
I think when you compare Norwich, I think why they are so heavily criticised is because of the mistakes you make. You make more greater mistakes. When you look at the other teams around you, they don't make mistakes like you do. Like you didn't come back, didn't you need to kick that player? How they didn't need to could jump for that ball. That's why Norwich get criticised so heavily, is because you make mistakes, and that's why people review on. When you look at, say, like Burnley, or on the same point of view, but didn't make any mistakes, who would media go after? It would be Norwich, because you're playing more mistakes.
Yeah, I think you're right there, because obviously Norwich, a lot of Norwich's goals are self-inflicted, and that's the issue. And like I said with Brandon, like against Leicester, I think if the fullbacks stayed back just a little bit more, we could have got something from Leicester, and we should have. Leicester is a game we should have got a result from. And so I think you're right in the fact that a lot of Norwich's goals conceded and a lot of Norwich's downfall is from our own mistakes. It's not because just teams are better than us, it's because a lot of the mistakes are forced by ourselves. And I think you're right, that's probably why the media goes after us more than other teams, because they're noticing, hang on, someone could have done something about that. Like Norwich are making their own mistakes, they're not just getting beaten by teams, they're getting beaten by themselves. So I think as soon as Norwich sort out the silly mistakes, they can start getting results. But I think you're right with what you said earlier. Daniel Farker works on separate parts of the pitch. Work on defending. Don't concede. If you could go 2 games with a clean sheet but it ends 0-0, that's good. And then you can look to go forward, start attacking, start looking more dangerous up front. But I think, to be honest, that's all I've got to say on this one, mate. Daniel Farker's got to be. I mean, he has been given the benefit of the doubt, and I don't know how many Premier League teams would still be stuck with their manager, but I think we're just going to have to wait and see what happens, to be honest.
So, as a manager, do Norwich have the funds to bring in another quality manager for the season? So, also, has the manager gel with a new set of players? The only manager you can really buy in is free agents at the moment, like Eddie Howe. He's got to get used to Norwich's way, the system, the players, in a time in about space of 3 days before the next game comes round.
Stuart Webber as well, of course,
yeah,
and
exactly.
the way Norwich want to play football, so he's got to adjust to the fans as well. So I guess swapping managers now,
it's not like swapping.
It wouldn't be. Yeah, it would be a good idea now. Obviously, I think you've got to give him till
international break is the best time to do it. Then he comes in.
If by Christmas Norwich are in a rut and they're at the bottom of the league, then do you start to question the manager?
It's the coaching staff as well, because when you look at managers, they don't take training sessions now. They have ideas what to do in the sessions to do, but it's the coaching staff that does it, and it's the coaching staff that set out the drills, and it's the manager that watches overall.
The only thing is with the manager, obviously the manager's the one that puts out the team on the day.
Yeah, but it's not like Man City, is it?
No, that's the thing. So.
When you look at Man City, they can pick from their A, B and C squad. Do Norwich have an A, B squad that are strong enough to rotate? You haven't got the players to keep rotating, you haven't. And when you look at the system, you've got players who play the set system. You keep chopping and changing players. They've got used to the system, the players, the Premier League. That'd be a lot for players. If you go to a 9-minute game and tell them, okay, you play next to this guy you haven't seen before in training.
And you're playing the whole 90 minutes with him. So I think you're right. I like have Norwich come into. You can't say Norwich have come into this league undercooked after spending £50 million, which I'm pretty sure is a club record.
Yeah, but we QPR spent a lot of money, and look what they achieved. They didn't achieve enough, and that's right. You need to buy quality over quantity. When you look at Brentford, how they've spent a lot of money, they haven't, because they invested it wisely. Like Leeds as well.
Well, from what I saw in some sort of media page somewhere, it said like this was Norwich's B or C transfer window. Like our initial transfer window was. We had ideas of bringing in Adam Armstrong, Agier from Celtic, the one that Brentford have now signed, and he's actually played quite well for them so far. So Norwich on like their B or C transfer window that wasn't really to be, but I think we've got to give them a little bit more. I think at Christmas is when you really decide, like, right, it's either game over or you change it now. But yeah, I think that's all we've got to say on this topic. Obviously, I'm sure we'll have another episode soon about Lincoln and their woes. And
those are Lincoln.
I'm sure we'll talk about them at some point. But hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this podcast. If you've heard any noise in the background, we do apologise. There have been people in the background, but hopefully, you've enjoyed listening to our podcast.
Yeah, thank you. And Hope you just keep subscribing, liking. We also have an Instagram page, which has got our link down in the description below.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll see you on the next one.